So I'm looking for people who have known each other for a while, and preferably with some experience of working together, because they're going to be working together now for a few years, and they need to get along together. I'm looking for at least one team member, which is an exceptional talent in something.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumi Tech and sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Turing, Upwest Labs, and Hillel at Stanford. What drives a 3-time entrepreneur and serial investor in top companies to continue doing what he's doing? Meet Liron Rose, founder and CEO of Rose Innovation. Liron is a 3-time entrepreneur and investor with several unicorn exits in Tel Aviv's thriving tech scene. His latest startup, After Download, was acquired by ironSource after 3 years. He later launched and managed Barclays Bank Accelerator with Techstars in Israel. Liron enjoys fostering Israel's brightest entrepreneurs in their quest for vision and leadership, together with a group of HNWI family offices, investment banks, and venture capital. Investments include ironSource, Fiverr, Armis, SimilarWeb, and many, many more. Liron Rose, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. I'm honored to have you here. How are you?
Great, Michael. Thanks for having me. Honored to be here with you today.
No, thank you for coming here. I know how busy you are, and I'm going to try to be very selfish here and extract as much knowledge as I can from you in these 20 minutes. This is my goal, and I'll measure my KPI in about 19 minutes or so. So I think we'll just get started. Liron, you're one of Israel's most prominent investors, having invested in some of the most incredible companies that I can think of. The list goes on and on, from Armis to Fiverr to ironSource, to SimilarWeb, and what these have in common, besides the fact that they're just fantastic companies, these are investments that you've also done pretty early. And I think that one of the magic that I'll try to extract from you is this identifying these real winners so early on, when a lot of it is sometimes based on intuition and you don't have much data to base it on. But even before we go that, Liron, tell me a little bit of who you are. How do you consider yourself? Are you an investor? Are you an entrepreneur? Who are you?
I would say investorpreneur. So I'm both an investor and entrepreneur. I was a startup founder for a couple of times. My latest company was acquired by ironSource a few years ago, and I also established the Techstars Accelerator here in Israel and ran it for 2 years. So I've had experience with interviewing and reviewing hundreds of fintech startups and accepting 20 of them into my programs.
Wow!
So I've done a lot of startup due diligence, probably thousands of companies, invested in about I would say 24 companies beside the accelerator.
Amazing.
And yes, as you said, a few of them have become unicorns. So I think my hit rate is. I'm pretty happy with the results so far.
So now my job is to take this hit rate and try to extrapolate what are some of the subcomponents that might make sense as we think about unicorns. We think about joining teams early. Obviously, a lot of it is about the team, about product market fit, about the product. But at the end, there's infinite theses, the investment theses. Very few get to the place that you're at with your track record. So I'd love to hear, first, generally, how do you even approach this investment idea? How do you approach this whole world of investing, your role in it, and what you're actually trying to do?
Okay, so first of all, this is the way I approach investments evolves with time. So the way I look at it now is not the same how I look at it 10 or 15 years ago. So it changes as life, as you grow older and life goes on. So these days, for me, startups and private equity in general is one component of a larger portfolio, which includes other assets as well, like real estate and stock market, public companies investments. But when I started, it was not like this. So I started as as an entrepreneur in online marketing. I was founder of a couple of companies in online marketing. And the first investments that I made as an angel investor, early stage investments, were related to that field. So I think point number one is the more you are a domain expert, the more you are familiar with the area of the company, the problems and the solutions that the company is trying to solve. The more hands-on you are, the better the chances. So I've had two companies, very early investments from over 10 years ago that have matured and become big successes, companies that employ more than 500, 600 people each. And those are related to my activities, my hands-on activities in online marketing. I was doing search engine marketing and affiliate marketing for many years. And some of the investments came from that area.
Amazing. Do you have, in your mind, if I ask you to look back and think of, the most exciting or weird moments as an investor, was there a moment where you were sitting with an early stage team that you're looking at them and you're saying, like, I believe, I know this is going to work. I believe in these guys. And obviously you believe in all the investments you made, otherwise you wouldn't have made them. But is there a specific example that you can share with me where you're sitting with the team and you're saying, like, wow, like these people are amazing?
Well, I hope that my the latest investment that I've made just a few weeks back will be like this, because I was very enthusiastic about the team and about what they're doing, which is artificial intelligence art, and which is something that is very trendy now with the non-fungible tokens and so forth. So I was very enthusiastic. I thought the CEO was extremely bright and talented, and it was kind of a no-brainer. And this was after I think it was my first early stage investments in 12 months. So I haven't invested in anything for a year, and all of a sudden this deal came. And it's not that I haven't seen hundreds of startups during 2020, but I haven't invested. So as long as when the right deal came, it was pretty obvious that they are.
What does that mean? How do you? What is the key differentiator there? What is that light switch? Is it the fact that you really were taken by the founder? Was the problem more interesting than others? What did it for you?
I think it's a collection of few things, right? So yes, it is the team and noticing that the CEO is extremely what we call an outlier. So like 2 or 3 standard deviations from the mean, both in technical capabilities in that case and as well as managerial capabilities. And it's also a fact that these guys already have traction and have online sales. And it is an e-commerce startup. It has an AI component, but it's ultimately an e-commerce venture. And this is with conversions and online marketing, which is something that I'm familiar with. So I have a better ability to gauge where they are, and,
right.
And hope to see the results.
I love it, and I have to say that I actually did I believe that I did an episode just a few days ago with the chief marketing officer of the company that you're talking about, and they are
okay.
And I actually happened to do research on them for one of my Stanford classes, which is why I reached out to them also. And they are it is just mind-blowing, where the world is headed. And so obviously, I'll let you disclose it at your own time, the company, but I just have to say that I think that it's extremely exciting. But going back to some of these components, you're mentioning that it's a collection of components, collectively you piece together these different matrix that at the end have to amount to a beautiful partnership where you believe solely. But let's break it down a little bit. What in your mind, from your experience, what is sort of a key differentiator in the team perspective that you're saying this is an example of a team that will win versus a team that, while on paper they may look good, I'm not quite sure?
So you phrased it correctly. You can never be sure, and even if all the components are there, the startup can still fail, right? But to answer your question, when a team goes into an expedition of launching a startup, we're looking at anything between 7 to 10 years of this mission, right? And these people need to be able to work together and stay together and stick together, because this is a roller coaster journey, and basically they're getting married to each other for quite a long time. So I usually prefer teams of 2 or 3 founders, and it's better not to be a single founder. And it's also not so good to be more than 3 founders, because then the team dynamics change. So I'm looking for people who have known each other for a while, and preferably with some experience of working together, because they're going to be working together now for a few years, and they need to get along together. I'm looking for at least one team member, which is an exceptional talent in something. So it could be a technical ability, it could be a creative ability, it could be analytical capability, but something which is way out of the norm and out of the mean. So you need every team needs a winning team needs a Michael Jordan. Like one Michael Jordan is enough. You don't need 2 of them, because maybe then they will start to compete on the egos will surface. But if you have one of them and the team knows who the Michael Jordan is, then you're in a good shape.
Liron, how hard is it to know whether you have a Michael Jordan or not? Is it fast, or is it a lot of reference checks, a lot of due diligence?
I would say something in the middle. So you're looking at data. You're looking for data points who prove that this person has some kind of an excellency in one or more things, right? So you could look at their, if we're in Israel, so we could look at their military service, and if they have a track record there from one of those technological units like 8200 or one of the others. Or if they're not technical, then it could be one of the special forces units, anything like a leadership or a field commander. This is or a pilot. These kind of people who have excelled in their military service. It could be also in their university, college, academia. So if they have a magna cum laude or a very high grade, whatever, it's something which is not so easy to achieve. Or it could be in sports, right? If they've been swimmers, people who can swim, 5 kilometers every day, and they've been doing that since they were 12, I'm not even talking about people who've competed in the Olympics, but you get the idea. Yeah. So these kind of, or team players, if it's in basketball or any other sports, these kind of things.
Right. I think that looking at, obviously we can talk for hours about all the different subcomponents. At the end, we're still not going to come up with an interesting enough investment thesis that will hold true for all circumstances, right? There's infinite circumstances that are beyond what an investor can perform in a due diligence process. But I think touching on the idea of long-term partnerships and trying to distill for again, it's all about mitigating the risk, right? What are the biggest reasons why startups fail, and let's start going through them and trying to mitigate them. And I think that's what I love about this field is that it's a complete unknown. It's the most exciting. There's a lot of surprises, but at the end there is some patterns that come up often, and so
absolutely
there's a reason why the same 9 people reach the final table of the World Series of Poker every year, and there's a reason why the best investors invest in the best companies. It's it makes sense. Liron, today you mentioned that you're very passionate also about fintech and about trust and Bitcoin and the whole way the world is shifting to that place. While it's a big buzzword and there's a lot of hype around it, I think that the fundamental understanding of how these different trust mechanisms are going to change consumer behavior and trust and change the ecosystem as a whole, that's still very underestimated and undervalued. So share with me a little bit about your thoughts for what's happening and why you're specifically excited about this path.
Right. So let me say this. New unicorns are being born when new markets are being born, and when you have disruptive innovation and pioneering technology, something which is completely new. So blockchain and Bitcoin is well, it's not completely new. We've been in this for the last 10 or 12 years, but fintech, financial technology, or finance in general is it's a very conservative and traditional vertical. As I said, I ran a fintech accelerator for a bank for a couple of years, and we've been interviewing hundreds of startups. And after I finished running this operation, I was thinking, within fintech, what is the most disruptive, out of the box theme? And I think it is blockchain. And I'm not the first person to identify, unfortunately, Bitcoin. Some people have acquired Bitcoins in 2012. I noticed this vertical quite early, but entered around 2016, and what I see now is a few developments that make me think that this is still a huge opportunity, and we're going to see this field growing even further. So the way I look at it now is I say Bitcoin, and specifically Bitcoin, and probably Ether as well, but I'm sticking to these two because that's about 90% of the entire market cap in crypto. So Bitcoin is probably the biggest disruption in savings technology and value conservation.
Interesting.
Since, I would say, a few decades. It's the first time we have, and we can open this discussion and talk about this for hours. We don't have the time, unfortunately, but you have this money, this new kind of money, which is fully digital, currency of the internet. Supply is limited,
right,
and it's known. So the supply is limited. It's backed by energy.
Yep.
It's backed by electricity. So to produce one Bitcoin, you need so many kilowatt hours of electricity. So it's backed like gold by physical scarcity, so to speak. And what we see now is corporate America, which was kind of on the sidelines with this for a few years. They were, the SEC did not approve it, and other regulators.
Right.
But in the last 3 to 6 months, I would say we see big corporations. It started with a company called MicroStrategy, who placed its entire treasury, so I think $500 million of cash into Bitcoin, and then they borrowed, I think it was $2 billion. They borrowed $2 billion, zero interest terms, and invested that into Bitcoin as well. And then Tesla did the same.
Right. Yes.
And then Tesla did the same. And what we see is more and more of these corporations going into this. And it is a kind of a financial hedge, right? They're seeing, and we just saw Congress approving another $2 trillion package yesterday. So we see inflation, expectations of inflation going up,
being regulated by individuals, right?
And what these corporations are doing is, they're saying, look, we don't know what's going on with printing of money. Let's do this asymmetric bet and place a few percent. Not everyone needs to be MicroStrategy,
right?
but they can do 5% of the treasury, and if that happens, then this is just the start. And this thing also has an Israeli angle. We're in Israel here, so we see a lot of activity in the local scene, blockchain companies, which been running for a while. The first, I think, we've seen an acquisition this week of Curve by PayPal for, I think it was $200 or $300 million. We have a pretty significant player in the DeFi, decentralized finance field. Celsius, that's another Israeli company, pretty significant. And we are also in terms of, well, it's not Israel, but in terms of IPO, we're expecting a Coinbase IPO soon.
Incredible.
$100 billion IPO soon. So I think this is something that's very exciting. We see institutions pouring into this asset class for various reasons. And personally, I think we're just a start.
I think that, the big takeaway that I'm getting from this, and I've been hearing it again in quite a few episodes now, the big takeaway for me is just I have to understand it better. It's a new world. It's a new, I love, snowball effects. I love butterfly effects. And while here we're talking about the scope of, yes, we're talking about, this a single change in the financial industry, but it's not a single change in the financial industry. It has, it has ricochet effects in literally everything in life, from small business owners to the way that consumer behavior is, to spending behavior, and I think that we've yet to even begin to think about how this is going to change our world, and the pioneers like you that are thinking critically about the types of companies that are going to be leading this and the types of technologies that are relevant. The rest of the world is going to follow in the footsteps of the foundation that you're creating. So I think it's something that I definitely want to look more into. Liron, 20 minutes go by way too fast. First, I want to.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. I can't even fathom it every single time. But I really appreciate you coming here and giving me your time. It was phenomenal. I have one last important question for you, which is 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
So I would say down to earth, good communicator, and data-driven.
I love it. Liron, toda raba raba. Best of luck with all the investments. Look out for a slide deck from me in about a year or so. And until then, stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And looking forward to speaking to you soon. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.